All right, welcome back.
If you watched our previous video on the inverted U hypothesis,
It's challenging.
yes, but you should watch it because it's
important.
awesome and it'll teach you all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about the relationship between arousal and performance, and we ended that video by talking about some of the problems with the inverted U hypothesis. So now we move on to another theory that talks about the relationship between arousal and performance, and it is called?
The catastrophe theory.
Ooh, sounds pretty crazy.
Very familiar with this one. Oh, catastrophe. Right? Is that right? Yes, thank you. I got nervous there.
Yeah.
All right.
That might be a really good example of the catastrophe theory. So
really
the catastrophe theory starts off the exact same way as our inverted U hypothesis. You'll remember we have our x-axis, which we have arousal, and our y-axis with performance. And again, both of them measured from low to high. And if you remember from our inverted U hypothesis, we start off with this idea that as I'm under low arousal, my performance is fairly low. And as my arousal increases, my performance also increases to what we kind of called this optimal point. So very similar to the inverted U, in fact, exactly the same as the inverted U, right? And so we've got this increase. So then, Ash, what happens after we pass this point of optimal arousal?
Well, when I used to play, it would be I would get really, really frustrated, and then my performance would just drop horribly to the extent that I couldn't serve a tennis ball anymore. I'd get really upset. Oftentimes, I would break my tennis racket, much to my parents' chagrin. It didn't go very well. So it took me a long time to get back to where I needed to be. So my performance, it wasn't a gradual, it just dropped.
And if you remember from our inverted U, right, the inverted U looked like this. Nice, slow decline in performance. We get a little bit upset, a little over-aroused, too excited, too angry, whatever it might be, and our performance just slowly goes down. When in reality, what most of us know if we've performed is that it looks much more like this catastrophe theory that Ashwin has described, where once we pass this point of optimal arousal, at some point our performance drops off the cliff and we have a catastrophe. Test anxiety, people who have, quote, choked in a big game or something like that have experienced this exact theory where the performance just drops off a cliff. And as you said, it takes a long time to get it back. We still have some of the same problems that the inverted U proposed, is that this optimal point is still the same idea, that the reality is we might have more of a range, as we had discussed before, and that our curves might be a little different. So again, Ashwin's curve might be here, and once he gets past this point, he drops, and my curve might be over here, that I can still perform well under conditions of high arousal, but when I get too high, my performance drops. Either way, it's the same concept. We get a little bit too excited, a little bit too angry, too upset, whatever it might be, and our performance drops off a cliff.
Yeah. So sometimes, like for examples, it could be you take a timeout in basketball to try to stop a 10-0 run. You might have a pitching coach come to the mound when a pitcher starts to lose his or her edge. So little things like that where you can see their performance starts dropping off, then you stop it, right? Timeout, again, pitching mound kind of thing, and then you hopefully then allow them to be able to get their performance back on track. And that is simply the catastrophe theory. I think that one went pretty well.
Yeah, good work.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got one last one for you. All right, if you're ready. This is my favorite one out of all of them. All of these theories are sexy and enjoyable. I really enjoy them, but the next one is my Goldilocks theory. It's a good one. Not mine. I didn't come up. I came up with the Goldilocks, but I didn't come up with the rest of it. So we'll go with that in a couple of seconds. All right?
Yep,
That work?
let's do it.
All right.
Yep.